Okay. Well. My. What are we going to do about the tongue tie? What are we going to do about the individuals in our communities who can't speak their languages, don't know where to begin when it comes to speaking languages, and because of it, has a very, very deep sense of shame around speaking language? This is a serious problem that we, as the diaspora, are experiencing. What do we do with this? I think it's important to understand that language is a huge, huge part of identity. In fact, we categorize different people groups in different places, different countries, by their language. What language do you speak? What people do you belong to? And I think with people, when there's an absence of the ability to speak their language, that is a very, very hard feeling to wrestle through. It's a very hard thing to reckon with. I know a lot of people, myself included, who for years battle with intense feelings of shame around not being able to speak language. I have some interesting thoughts on this. I think a lot of people, in my experience, and in some senses I felt the same way for some periods of time, I think some of us blame our parents for not teaching us our languages. Now, I'm not going to say that you should or should not blame your parents. I think it's great when parents teach their kids their language. And I think that's really essential for identity formation, even familial ties, cultural ties. Language is important, and I think it's best to learn from your family. Please don't make any mistake about me saying that I think it is best to learn from your parents on how to speak languages. But sometimes I think we can also get ourselves in the pattern of seeing that as like a fixed identity, like, oh, I don't speak my native language, full stop. And there's no conversation around that. It's almost like it's a dead end. It's an end of story type of situation. And that is the thing that I'd like to challenge. It's uncomfortable to learn new things. And it's uncomfortable to learn a language because there's this very, very visceral feeling of tongue tie. You're trying to express yourself. You're trying to express your thoughts. You're trying to communicate with somebody else. And you can't because your tongue does not possess the abilities to communicate the way you desire to communicate. But does that mean we should stop trying? Does that mean that we should put that part of ourselves in a coffin and throw our funeral, the funeral of our language learning? Here lies my Tree speaking abilities, or my Yoruba speaking abilities, or my Swahili speaking abilities, or whatever language you speak, Hausa or Shona or Lingala, or whatever language it is. Should we do that? Should we just throw up a funeral for our language speaking abilities and let it end there? Or is there a way, and this is me asking the question genuinely, is there a way for us to connect to our languages? Is there a way for us to reclaim that part of ourselves? Is there a way where we can continue to keep that fire alive to learn that language and not let that part of ourselves die? Can we revive that part of ourselves? Can we bring that back? I personally do not want to believe that because you weren't taught how to speak a language in your home as a child, that door is shut for you. I don't want to believe that, and I don't believe that. So what can we do as a community to help ourselves and help each other to learn our native languages? There seems to be this very, I must say, unhelpful trend of people who will insult you for trying, who will laugh at you for getting things wrong, who will, sometimes if you mispronounce things or your grammar is incorrect or your tonations are off, instead of helping, sometimes there's laughter. And for a lot of people, that exacerbates this sense of shame. It makes it so much worse because not only are you trying to do something that is hard for you and difficult, but now you're being teased for it and laughed at for it. And for a huge number of us, that's a deterrent. So, if we're going to beat the tongue tie, if we're going to get to a place where we can begin to facilitate the environment that we need to help each other learn languages, I think there's a few things for us to keep in mind. Number one, I think we should remember that we're all trying. Everybody's trying. And I think it's important to remember that somebody is learning to do a new thing. And that's incredibly vulnerable. Let's not shoot people down when they're in a vulnerable position. Number 2, let's try and find more opportunities to learn languages together. Is there a word or a phrase or a song or a book or a poem that you really like? Is that an in for you? Is that a way for you to begin? Is that a way for you to start? I remember I started teaching myself how to speak my mother's native language, Ebe. That was really hard. But I first learned through gospel music, and I would just listen to songs in Ebe, and I would listen to the lyrics and try and piece together the grammar for the lyrics. And that was hard. I'm not saying that everybody should do that, and I don't speak perfectly, but it helped me to begin. It helped open the door. Is that a way that you could open that door? And thirdly, I think it's important that we remember that we are a community. I think we should remember that our central goal should stay the same: to help each other, support each other, be there for each other. And I think with languages, it's the same thing. Let's not laugh at people who are struggling to learn languages or making mistakes when they're speaking or say things with a funny tonation. Let's not laugh at people. Let's not ridicule people. Likewise, let's try and look for ways that we can open that door to language learning. Let's not throw a funeral for that part of ourselves. Let's not just end that chapter dead in its tracks. And let's remember that we are a community. We work together. And that is really, really important. Hey, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Diaspora Project podcast. We hope you enjoyed this conversation and you'll stick around for the next one. If you'd like to keep up to date with what we're doing, you can find us on our website, www.thediasporaproject.co.uk, or you can find us on our social media pages. On Instagram, we are at thediaspora.project. TikTok, we are at the Diaspora Project. And on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, we are the Diaspora Project. Thank you again, and we will see you next time.